Minus 1 minute and counting.
Hello.
Four, three, two, one.
Hello. How are you all doing? Thank you for joining us tonight. Hello, peeps. How are you? Okay.
We're all good.
Good. Jolly good. So what have we got on tonight? Well, we got a bit of weather from Simon Keeling, so we can find out whether we can go flying at the weekend or not. No, maybe not. Then it's not because of the weather. We got a whole bunch of news, and I'm very glad to say we've not only got electric aircraft, but we got flying cars. It's a bonus week for news, isn't it? A whole bunch of we got a really cheesy competition with the best bit of audio dubbing you've ever heard. Not. And then Fantasy Hangar and what's cancelled this week, which is pretty much, flying, I guess. Anyway, let's get on. Simon, would you like to tell us about the weather? And I believe this week we're going to do things a little bit differently with a bit of luck.
Yeah, F you in. No, I don't mean that really. This is a quiz. So what I'm going to do is, I thought, because obviously we can't go flying, I thought we'd just have a little bit of a weather quiz as we're not going to be able to fly. Do a bit of a quiz, and then it'll keep the old grey cells going, won't it, over the next few weeks. So I said F you, but I wasn't being rude. Honestly, what I want to know is, and you've got the time that it takes me to do the weekend forecast to answer this in the chat windows, is what does the abbreviation FU in a METAR, and I suppose you get it in a TAF as well. What does that mean if you see it in a METAR report? Go on, you've got the time it takes me to do the weekend forecast to give us the answer. Have a go, put it in the chat box window. Okay.
And no Googling.
No Googling. No, definitely not. That's why I want you to put it in the chat box window now. And the first one to get the answer correct gets nothing. But it's worth doing anyway, isn't it? Okay, let's have a look at the forecast then for the weekend. If only we could fly, this is what it would be like. But it's a good opportunity, again, while we're in lockdown, just to get ourselves familiar again with a little bit of Met, perhaps that we might have put to one side over the last few months when we've been flying. This is the forecast chart then for Saturday. Low pressure off towards the southwest of the country on Saturday. We've got a southeasterly flow. That means that we've got what's called a tropical continental air mass. Remember your air masses from PPL? Oh, right. Listen, I can make that really easy for you. Tropical continental usually means we've got drier air and we've got some clearer skies around. And actually the weather for Saturday is not going to be too bad. It's a little bit breezy down in the southwest. And this is often what happens when a tropical continental air mass breaks down, is that the low pressure down towards the southwest starts to feed in bits of cloud and bits of rain and drizzle. And we get lower cloud bases, which is what we're going to see over the southwest on Saturday. But generally, it's not a bad day. Now for Sunday, this is how things look for Sunday. You see it's all breaking down on Sunday. That's that tropical continental air mass being pushed out of the way by that area of low pressure. You see we've got fronts moving their way northwards. They're going to be bringing outbreaks of rain through Sunday. I think most of it across southern and western areas. Typical bases with that rain probably around 1,500 to 2,000 feet. The tops on that probably up at around 12 to 15,000 feet. But generally, out of the 2 days at the weekend, Saturday is looking a little bit better. If only all of us could go flying go. But the weekend overall, I'd say it's all right. But I've got to be honest, I've seen better. Did anybody get the correct answer in the chat window? Shall I tell you what it is? If you see you on a METAR, do you want to have a go, guys? Do you know what it is?
I'm going smoke.
Oh, any advice on smoke?
Stuart Rue suggested firework up.
Yeah, all right. There's always one, isn't there? Yeah, that's pretty good, Stuart. I like that. Go on then, Dave. Do you know what it is?
Well, I think it's short for fume, isn't it? Meaning smoke.
Okay. Any advances on that, or are we going to go with smoke? If you went with smoke, you're spot on. Yeah, absolutely. If you see it in a METAR, means smoke, and that visibility has been deteriorated by smoke, which I guess is very apt, isn't it, for bonfire night?
It is, yeah. Well done to Mark Sanders, Stuart Rue, Roger Breckle, Chris Ackroyd. Mark Tideman said flying upended. Close.
Really?
Arton Smith got it right. No, that might be. Oh, and Paul Sengupta. So John Park probably has the best creation though with flying unicorns.
Yeah.
Excellent. You're all far too clever by half. I'm gonna have to dig deeper on her for next week.
Dig deep next week. Yeah, let's have some volcanic ash or something.
Yeah, right. Okay, you've sent me the challenge now.
Oh.
And the dog wants it too.
Yeah, excuse the dog.
The dog there is not liking the fireworks, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Simon. And,
Okay, guys.
Great weather forecast, but unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it. So
well.
thank you anyway. So we'll see you next week. Dave, you want to talk us through the news?
Well, the news this week is clearly dominated by the fact that the November lockdown has put the kibosh on flying. Department of Transport issued its guidance for general aviation, and basically it means no sport or no sport flying or recreational flying. You are allowed to do engine maintenance flights, and if you need to fly to keep currency, supposing if you're renting an aircraft from a club and you need to fly, it sounds like you can do that as well. Airfields are allowed to remain open, but because cafes and restaurants aren't, you won't be able to get anything once you're at the airfield apart from fuel. So it's a bit of a mixed picture. Well, it's not a mixed picture. It's pretty awful, really. There's not really much flying you can do other than the engine maintenance flight.
Yeah.
And
obviously, it's if you do fly, it's a single destination. You can only go from your airfield back to base.
That's right. Yeah. So if you need to do a currency flight or an engine maintenance flight, it's the minimum possible and straight back. So anyway.
So in the comments, Steve Clack says hoping to be flying from Monday in Wales. So I guess we shouldn't forget that different lockdown situations exist in Wales and Scotland. So obviously we returned to flying before them back in the year, didn't they? But now they're on it. So looks like they're back to flying sooner than us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
What else? What's next? Well, Ian and myself and some others of the team looking a bit frazzled at the moment because tomorrow we have Pilot Careers Live Virtual. Pilot Careers Live is a series of events that the company's done for the last few years. They've been very popular as the aviation industry was a good career to get into, and it will be again one day. But right at the moment, it's pretty difficult. And so we can't do any live real events. So we're going to go to virtual. And this has been created from scratch from our web team. And I've seen it, and Ian's seen it, obviously. And we're pretty damn pleased about it, really, aren't we? It looks like it's going to be a great event.
Absolutely.
You know a bit more about it than I do, Ian, because you were there today doing a tech test.
Well, at the moment, I'm sitting in a different studio because we're getting ready for tomorrow. So we launch at 10, and there's I think at least 6 and probably close to 7 hours of live broadcast streaming each day on all sorts of subjects. I think I can't remember how many panelists we've got and presenters we've got. It's a big number. It's like 40 plus or something. So if you were considering a career as a commercial pilot, then clearly there are some challenges to that career now. But the event is a really good time to tune in and get lots of great information. And you need to register. So the website for registering is on the screen now. It's completely free. So come in, see what you got, see what we've got. Speak to a whole load of experts and just join us tomorrow. It'll be fun, or it'll be fun and tiring and slightly scary, I think, as well.
Yeah.
But absolutely.
We're not backing away from the issue of COVID, are we? We're hitting head on in certain presentations. Yeah.
The very first presentation, the very first keynote is really about dealing with the whole thing about training through COVID. So this is not a kind of we're not glossing over the troubles that the industry's got in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Absolutely.
Okay, next on the news, the Airfield Development Fund, which was announced at the end of last week, it's going to be open for applications from airfields from 29th of October till the 3rd of December. Oh yes, that's when lockdown's happening, isn't it? So that's there might not be very many applications going in for this. So there's a whole bunch of money there, airfields, waiting to be claimed. It doesn't appear to be real money, of course. You have to. It's basically advice on things like accounting and finance, planning and heritage grants, marketing, communications and branding, business strategy and commercial development, and the application of technology and innovation. So it's all quite good stuff, but if you're an airfield that maybe is a little bit behind the times on these things, you could get some help there. Doesn't appear to be real money though in the bank.
I can't help but thinking that actually real money would be more useful to a lot of airfields.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's some really good innovative airfields out there, and they generally don't lack ideas about what to do. They lack the money to do it, and the people who do lack the ideas are not going to get them from the consultants and carry on anyway. So it's a step in the right direction, but come up with some real money. That's what you really need.
Yeah,
that's what we all need.
That's what we all need. Moving on, Hill Helicopters is a British company, and they are planning to build their own helicopter from scratch. And this week they announced what the engine's going to be. It's a turbo shaft engine, so it's a turbine for helicopters driving a shaft, and this is it. They're making everything themselves, it appears. This does look quite a neat engine. If we don't know many details about it, it's supposed to put out a maximum of 440 horsepower for takeoff. Max continuous is 400 horsepower. So we don't really know where this helicopter is going, do we? Because it's a very ambitious project to develop a helicopter from scratch. There are people out there, such as Airbus, who've taken 7 years to develop their most recent helicopter, the H160. It took Frank Robinson 10 years, was it, to do the R22?
Yeah.
It's a very difficult thing to develop a helicopter and certify it.
And to develop a whole new helicopter and your own power plant is doubly so.
Yeah.
So
good luck, Tom. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck, but they've bitten off a large chunk of challenges, should we say.
Paulson Gupta has a good point. He said, it's got 500 written on it. So,
well, that's because there's a rating of 500 horsepower for emergencies. So,
good. That's good to know. So that you can get to the crash faster.
That's when you pull the collective up under your armpit, isn't it?
When you really panic.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyway, so next, moving on, talking about handfuls, the Slovakian company called Klein Vision have flown this thing called the Air Car. It actually flew it a year ago. It wasn't quite as advanced as it is now, but now they've flown it and done a series of tests, which enables them to go to put it into EASA to try and get certification for it. Anyway, it's a bit like a supercar with sprout wings. Very neat the way it sprouts its wings. So there's a video on the Flyer website that shows just that, and it does actually fly. It's supposed to use the shape of the car's body is supposed to be a lifting surface as well. Its wings don't look very big, I have to say.
It is. It's fascinating to watch it unfold because the wings fold in half and then fold up and stow, and then the tail winds all the way out to obviously make it longer. Yeah. But you watch the takeoff video and it's like rotate speed, and the guy pulls back, and obviously because it's got this weird geometry, it makes this very weird pitch up, and it's like whoop, and it's like whoa forwards.
When I saw it, the video is really good. It's kind of like one of those droney shots with it all unwrapping itself like a transformer. I don't know. I couldn't help think, how much does that mechanism weigh just to get that to do that? And you've got to cart around that weight with you all the time. And much as it's kind of interesting, and the whole flying car thing has clearly captivated people's imagination for many, many years. What's the problem it's trying to solve actually?
Yes. Just drive to the airfield in your own car and fly the airplane.
That's it. And I've seen a few people say, well, flying car surely is when you get stuck in a traffic jam, it's that you have the magic of Jetsons and you levitate out of the traffic jam. Not, hang on, give me some space. I just need to unfold my aeroplane.
If you got a flying car, why would you ever get stuck in why would you ever drive along the road? You just take off at the first possible road and land at the last possible road, wouldn't you? I mean, but
yeah,
it's frankly, personally, call me negative if you like, but I reckon you could get a decent car and a decent aeroplane, and they don't have to make the compromises that a flying car will make. That's my point. But there you go.
Yeah.
Who am I to stop people?
Paul Venison says Molt Taylor had it right. If you remember, Molt did a series of fantastic aero cars. John O'Holland says he needs a flying tractor. You already fly to work though, so
I think he's probably owned a couple in the past, hasn't he?
what, flying tractors?
Yeah.
Maybe. Adrian Norris said, I look forward to Ian Seeger test driving and flying that.
I think I was probably one that. Yeah. There's other aircraft that I really want to fly before that one, actually.
Yeah.
Kev Arblaster thinks it looks a bit like something out of Thunderbirds, and I think you might be a bit right there, Kev.
Yeah.
Interestingly, when we tweeted the story about that, half of Slovakia retweeted the story. Even the Slovakian consulate in Istanbul retweeted the story.
Wow.
So they're very proud, very patriotic people. Moving on.
I was going to say, as our resident news person, does that make you a national hero now in Slovakia?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. Well, I don't know, would it? Like Richard
You'd be revered.
Go to Mexico, isn't it? So next story is about By Aerospace, which is developing an electric aircraft. It's developing a family of electric aircraft. This is the two-seater. They call it E-Flyer 2. It's also producing a four-seater and a new one, which has not been revealed yet, but they still talk about it, called the Envoy, which is a twin. Anyway, they just had an order from a company in South Korea called Aerospace 9 for 300 of these. 300. It's now, By Aerospace says it's now got an order book of 711 orders for this aircraft. They're very good at selling it, it seems.
They just need to deliver it.
Clearly, we don't want to say too much about that.
So do you remember there's a school in the UK that's got some on order as well. I don't know the detail. I haven't seen any of the contracts.
Haven't Skyborne ordered some?
That'll be the school I was thinking of. Yeah. I'm not sure what the contracts are. I'm not sure how much cash is actually on the table at the moment, or whether it's just kind of if who knows how that actually works. And I don't know if you remember when the Liberty XL2 was in Florida being manufactured. At some point, I'm sure I remember someone talking about an 800 aircraft order for China that never quite materialized. Which is not to say that the By aircraft orders won't materialize. Hopefully they do materialize and we get a fantastic aircraft out of it. It's just that, show me the airplane. That's what I say.
Well, the next one, the last of the news stories, is about Volt Aero, which is developing a hybrid electric. Its prototype is based on the Cessna 337 with it's got an engine at the back. Normally it has an engine at the front. This is the flying prototype, which has got these electric motors on the leading edge of the wing. It's got a hybrid unit in the back, which is part electric, part internal combustion engine. Anyway, quite sensibly, Volt Aero have decided they can't manufacture it themselves. They're going to just develop it. And they've gone to Sonaka Group, which obviously makes the Sonaka 200 light aircraft. But Sonaka is actually a huge company. They make aerospace structures for all sorts of companies, including Airbus and all sorts of others. They're one of the biggest aerospace engineering companies in the world. So Sonaka are going to develop it for production and get it through certification. That actually sounds like it might go somewhere.
And that's definitely, you get Sonaka on board. And I remember Sonaka turning up at Friedrichshafen with an aeroplane one year and going, hey, in a very short time frame, I think it was something like 2 years, maybe 3 years. Right. We're going to have a fully certified aeroplane. People were skeptical at the time, but look at them now. That's a company that's taking quite large orders and delivering a great aeroplane that's been really optimized for training. So Yeah, fascinating.
One of the best things about Sonaco and Aero Friedrichshafen was not only their ability to deliver an airplane really quickly, but the fact that at the end of the day, for a few invited guests, they had ranges of Belgian beers for us all to go and try. And at that point, I think it's a winner.
Yes.
More people should bring beer to trade shows. Bring beer to trade shows.
Well, that's a thing anyway at Aero, isn't it? There's often more beer than aeroplanes.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's going to happen this year. We might have to have a virtual beer show this year.
That's it. I'm going back to the flying car thing only because there's one really good comment here from Nick Allen. Nick says you do it the other way around. You get a modern version of the Bristol Freighter, so you can put your car in the aeroplane.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, we need to move on. Time's running away with us. Yes.
So I've got a special cheesy competition for you. Remember last week we spoke about the Lynx being the fastest helicopter, and there was some doubt, but it is actually the fastest helicopter. I thought this week we'd take a look at some aviation records. So here you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, name that
Aviation record.
I didn't think a theme tune could make my brain hurt. That really does.
Would you like it again, or was that
No.
Okay, so aviation records. What have we got here then? Any takers?
It's a shadow, isn't it, on the left?
Yeah, Shadow's got time to climb.
It may have. It's not the one I'm thinking of, but
okay. And the thing on the right, which I can't think of, were designed by the Brazilian guy Paulo Escold and a whole bunch of students, and set a speed record for.
Yep.
A sub 80 horsepower?
Fastest four-cylinder, isn't it? Fastest four-cylinder aircraft.
No, that's
you're thinking Anakim, aren't you?
Yeah, this was before Anakim.
So you know the EASA regulations and the CEA regulations, and we all bitch about the fact they're all way too complicated for anyone to understand. Well, if you go and look at the FAI sporting regulations and the different classes of groups, I mean, EASA and CEA have got nothing on them. That's just ridiculously complicated, stupidly complicated. But anyway, the one on the left, Street Shadow, David Cook in 1983 flew that speed record. I think it was over a 3-kilometer course or something, and that was 126.36 kilometers an hour. And the one on the right, the airplane you're looking for, Ed, is CEA 308, clearly. That had a Jabiru in it, and that's the current world record holder, 2010, and that's 360 kilometers an hour, so nearly 3 times faster on that one. So let's move on to the next one. How about that?
Wow.
Oh.
Is it the record for who could make an ironing board fly?
Close. Excuse me. The one on the left, again, 1983. Brick guy called Robert Calvert. 1983 was clearly a big time for world records in the UK. This is an altitude record, and that is, I can't remember exactly what that called. I should really know what that's called, shouldn't I? I did write it down somewhere, but I've lost that piece of paper. Anyway, that climbed to 19,000 feet, which would have been pretty damn chilly, I reckon. But in 1989, Eric Scott Winton bettered that with the ironing board design and got to 30,147 feet, which is just bloody ridiculous.
Wow.
So anyway, there you go. That's my cheesy record competition of the week.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Ed Ludlow has just come up with the terrifying thought, saying, just think of all the jingles now that Ian has all this lockdown time on his hands.
I'll tell you what, we're going to have cheesy 80s jingles every single, well, maybe not every week, but it's going to be a regular part of the show. That's what people tune in for, isn't it?
And that's, well, yeah, I love an 80s TV theme tune.
As much as anybody else.
Talking of record aeroplanes,
yeah,
time for Fancy Hangar.
It is.
So we decided that this week, Fancy Hangar, the choices for that would be your favourite record-setting aeroplane. So please give us your suggestions in the comments. So think of your favourite record-setting aeroplane, and who's up first?
Dave's up first. You ready for this, Dave?
Oh, yes.
So
this is the de Havilland Vampire. I actually chose the Sea Vampire simply because Eric Winkle Brown, everyone's hero, was the first to land a jet aircraft on a carrier. And here he is in, I think it's 1945. It seems very early, isn't it? 1945. He was landing and taking off from the HMS Ocean. It was the Royal Navy's first jet fighter. Blinking thing did over 500 miles an hour. There were more than 3,000 of them made, and they were still in service right up to 1990 with the Swiss Air Force. It's a fantastic aeroplane. So that's my record breaker.
So it looks like that to me looks like it was a pretty windy day. I wonder what speed they have to kind of steam into wind. What wind do you have to have over the deck to be able to get one of those off? I wonder.
Yeah.
They don't take off at the best of times. So
I was going to say no. So do you remember that pic? Was it one of those that tore up the runway at Halfpenny Green?
Yeah, it departed Halfpenny Green, and the runway literally did fold up behind.
It did, didn't it? So anyway, moving on to your aeroplane, Ed. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm always confident that I've got a winner, but I have to say, this week,
Ed's due to come second this week.
Yeah, I give you the beautiful Hughes H1 from 1935. It was from the Howard Hughes stable, designed by his designer Richard Palmer, and it was the last aircraft built by a private individual to set a world speed record. Set a whole bunch of transcontinental records as well, and this whizzed around at kind of 350 miles an hour on maybe even 360 on 700 horsepower. And bearing in mind this was 1935, it had a whole bunch of technology that hadn't come into the kind of military world. So this pioneered flush seam joined skins, flush rivets. It had a fantastic wing on it. And just a whole bunch of brilliant forward-thinking aerodynamics. And this thing is I've seen the real one. There's only one, and the real one, this one here, lives in the Smithsonian, and it's just a gorgeous aeroplane. Someone once built a replica over a number of years, and it flew in 2002. And I was really lucky to actually see that at its base in Cottage Grove in Oregon. Unfortunately, it was destroyed in a crash a year later, but this aeroplane is probably the replica was probably the finest thing I've ever seen built by humans. It was just stunning, and the original is amazing as well. But yeah, I think for me this would just be drop dead gorgeous to have in the hangar.
So which year did you say that was? 1930?
1935.
5. So my winning entry,
yes,
was actually 1934. So a year before that. A slightly more European in favour. It's the Quadron C460, and that flew at 314 miles an hour by a guy called Raymond Delmont. The interesting thing is you had 700 horsepower in your aeroplane, Ed.
Yes.
This had a 6-cylinder inverted supercharged Renault with 310 horsepower only, which is pretty impressive to get 314 miles an hour. It's an absolutely gorgeous aircraft. Only 3 of them were made. None of them exist anymore other than in my fantasy hangar. I think there's been a replica that's built though, but to have one of those would just be absolutely amazing. I think everyone agrees that is just a stunning airplane. There you go. Vote Quadron, people.
It's quite nice, but it has an element of coughing about it.
Well, the cockpit's pretty minimal, has to be said.
I was going to say it looks like they wrapped the windscreen around someone's face.
I think they did. Yeah, I think let's just have a quick look at. Yeah, no. Yeah. I think he's even got it cracked there because it was too small to wrap around his face.
Yeah, it's like my head is too big for this aeroplane. What's in the suggestions? So there are Mughal. I must admit, Mughal would be a second choice for me. Ed Lobo was in with Mughal, as was Paul Sengupta. Carol de Sola suggests the DH-88 Comet Racer. Andy Kennedy suggests the Arnold AR5, which is a fantastic little tiny thing, 65 horsepower, and I think it did 215 miles an hour.
If that's not the ARV, is it?
No, not the ARV, which is, I'm just going to say it, which was not a fantastic thing. So Nick Allen says SR-71, that's quite good, but
that's my favourite airplane of all time.
Walk into a hangar. Roger Breckel, Rutan Voyager. Not terribly practical though, Roger. Quite big, I have to say. Ricardo Donadis suggests the Macchi Castoldi MC-72. That was a fantastic seaplane with 2 V12s joined end to end with counter-rotating propellers. I think that set the seaplane record at something like 440 miles an hour, which is bonkers. Kia Williams is with me on Hughes H1.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah, Peter McDonald says winner Ed.
Ed, you don't should read out the ones that support you.
No. I'm being very. Yeah. Jeremy Winder says Ed is the winner tonight. Russ Pinder, Ed wins, and I'm not making these up. These are actually so.
They're all friends of yours.
That's it. Yes, and John Whiten suggests something that we're hoping is actually going to set a speed record, which is the ENXT from Rolls-Royce, the XL project. So that'll be exciting to see.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, votes in the comments, and remember the cauldron's the winner, people. So, I guess before we go, we should talk about what's been cancelled this week, other than
Flying.
Really, and flying. So, what have we got, Dave? Any ideas?
Well, there's no events. There's no real live events. There are 3 virtual events coming up. There's obviously Pilot Careers Live starting tomorrow. Go to the site. It's on. There's the Light Aircraft Design Conference on the 16th of November with the Royal Aeronautical Society. Remember, if you're a Flyer Club member, you get 15 quid off the ticket. And there's the Airability Ball at the end of November, on November the 28th. And if you go to the Airability website, there's a link on Flyer, story about it on Flyer, link on Flyer, and you can order a pack from them to join in the evening.
And that's a great charity to support.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And they will be holding their auction as well. They're a live online auction.
Which reminds me, I owe them a prize. I need to get in touch with them. I do apologise. That we have a prize lined up for you that people will be able to bid on. That's going to be worth at least, I don't know, £5.50 or something. No, it'll be a much better price than that.
It's funny you should suggest prizes, because earlier in the comments, Andy Talkington suggested that maybe you would like to make the Flyer Christmas jingle CD, and even offered that it might be worth £7.99 plus postage and packing.
Do you think it would make #1 in the charts? Do you think we can do it?
Well, comedy acts and novelty acts do stand the potential to be #1 at Christmas.
I think, Andy, thank you very much. I think a Christmas jingle is in our future.
Yeah.
I know. You can't wait till next week, but we'll be back next week.
Yeah.
I've just got one. Sorry, I've got one quick thing before we go, because we're 1 minute over, and that's to say, if you're not a member of the Flyer Club, why not? Get on, join. It's only £7.50 a quarter. No, it's not. Yes, it is. £7.50 a quarter, £2.50 a month. It's a bargain. And go and download the latest issue, December issue. It's had more downloads than any other issue so far. It's in its first week. It's just stonking away. Great issue. Go read it. It's well worth it. Thank you very much, Dave. Sorry to have interrupted you.
I was just hurrying you up a bit because I saw the time ticking away.
Are we done?
I think we're done. So
thank you very much. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, everyone, for watching. See you all next week, 7:30. Have a good one. Stay safe, and unfortunately, well, maybe go polish your airplane or something.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
That's as close as we're going to get, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's it. So polish your airplane, read Flyer. If you haven't read the latest issue, that's there ready to read for free. So check it out at flyer.co.uk.
And Pilot Careers Live Virtual takes place tomorrow. It opens at 10 o'clock. Go and register at www.pilotcareerslive.com. Thank you very much. See you all soon.
Have a safe day, everyone.